Is there any relationship between Canaanites, Asians, Africans, and the Olmecs? Now, that's a very complex question due to the fact in the world that we live. The world that we live see people different by the complexion of their skin, their height, weight, what they eat, language that they speak, and things of that nature. But the things that I've studied show a direct kinship between all the people on the earth. So when we look at DNA, there was a study done in which showed Asians, a kinship between Asians and Africans, Asians and Europeans and Africans. In that study, it showed that Asians were a closer akin to us than anyone else. But it also showed a kinship of Europeans to us. And so that study, I tell everyone, you can change the names, you can change destination, but you cannot alter the DNA. We all trace ourselves back to a single source. We're all related. Now, whether we decide to see each other on that universal level, that's to each and every individual personal choice. Who are the Olmecs? This has been a question many scientists, scholars, archaeologists have been attempting to answer for generations. What we do know, the Olmecs themselves are considered the first civilization of the Americas, dating back to about 2,500 years ago. What we also know is that the Olmecs themselves never had a written history. They never wrote anything themselves. Everything that we're gathering, all the information that we're gathering, is information gathered from excavation sites on the ground, other cultures that neighbored them. But we also see that the Olmec civilization was a multicultural civilization. And you can see traces of all people, indigenous, Native Americans, to Africans, through what? Through artifacts found. African artifacts, Egyptian artifacts, words written on temples that trace back to Africa itself, but it also traced to other groups of people. So that's a very dynamic question. You would say that their society may have been the first multi-dimensional or racial society on this side of the planet. When you analyze the data, because that's all we have, and you start to look at the characteristic, such as the Olmec statues, the large heads that everybody is so familiar with, famous. What scholars have done have looked at the type of headdress that's on the Olmec heads themselves. And they have seen the same characteristics of these so-called helmets or headwear to be a kinship with the ancient Egyptians, with the ancient Phoenicians. And if we know anything about the Phoenicians, we understand that the Phoenicians were seafaring people themselves. We also see records produced that during the time of certain Egyptian dynasties, that they were referred to themselves as a great seafaring people by Greek scholars. So why would Greek scholars place such a high title on a group of people if they were not venturing off into the sea? So when we look at this and we take a clear analysis of it, we're not taking away that culture could also be or belong to other groups in the region. What we're saying is that there's an African footprint in this culture, in this civilization. like I referred to, artifacts. See, it's different from when people can place something there. But when you're there digging up the earth and you find an Egyptian artifact, you must wonder, why is an Egyptian artifact dating to the period of 900 BC doing in Mexico? So all these things make it relevant to say that there is a great probability that a portion of the Olmec society were of so-called African descent. Or if you want to go even further, to the people of Mali, the people of Kush, the people of Egypt, and Phoenicians, all Afrocentric based societies. And I'm using that term very loosely. Yes, we can tie ourselves back to all these people. When we look and investigate people through DNA, we find where they came from, who they are. Ham had 4 sons: Canaan, Cush, Mizraim, and Put. And when we look at the history of these people, we understand that Cush, or the Cushites, inhabited East Africa, ancient Abyssinia, in which many Hebrews today trace themselves to. We know that Mizraim and his descendants inhabited Egypt. We know that Put inhabited what we call today modern Libya, or Libyans. And then we understand Canaan, the land of Canaan, in which we have a history and a written history that tells us that the Canaanites themselves traveled from the land of Canaan into Africa on a constant basis. All these people come from the same source. They come from Ham. And we know that Ham, his grandfather is Noah. And when we look into the history of Noah, Noah goes back to a group of people. And then we can trace these people back to where they came from, what they practiced, even down to their diets. So yes, we're all related. There's much said about this attempted tie between these particular games and the Olmecs. Many scholars believe that the term Olmec is an Aztec word, meaning rubber people, right? And when you look at the reefs that are in the Olmec societies, it shows a game being played with a rubber sphere, ball, right? So it automatically came associated with this civilization, the rubber people. Maybe it's a correlation between the game or this particular ball or sphere that they created, that they played and stuck with them. But it also shows that these same games were not indigenous just to the Americas. That these games were also played in other parts of the world, particularly West Africa. So we can only, in our attempt to draw a paralleling line that unites this particular idea. The similarities between both cultures, the Olmecs and the Egyptians. In my studies and things that I found most striking for any culture that's tying themselves together is spiritual systems, religious beliefs. You see some of the same deities in the Olmec societies as you see in the Egyptian societies, civilization. Meaning the same thing and using the same words. But yet these people are supposed to be separated from themselves by thousands of miles, different periods. So you can only conclude that either there was close contact with both civilizations, or both civilizations are one and the same, with some variations and new inventions that end up taking place in the New World, the Americas, to maybe satisfy the other cultures that existed in the area. So that's why I find the stark similarity between the two cultures. What do I think the Olmecs are now? Like I said previous, I believe that regardless of whatever or wherever they went to, we know for a fact that it was a thriving society. We know this. A thriving society just doesn't disappear off the face of the earth. So if they were forced to move, then we know that regardless, and history has taught us that whether you're a conquered tribe, you get absorbed into the next tribe. We know as people move, they come in contact with other people, they intermingle, they merge two societies and two cultures as one, and one accepts one cultural practice over another at times. And so it could be that the idea of the Olmecs has vanished, but not the people themselves. They just have absorbed into other tribes and people, and their way of life has shifted, changed so dramatically that you don't believe that there's an imprint there anymore. But upon closer analysis, modern DNA has taken people such as the Aztecs, the Mayas. These civilizations grew off of the Olmec society, according to data that's out there. So we can understand and see that the imprint is still there. The name may have changed, but the people remain. How are the Olmecs related to Juneteenth? That is an excellent question. And I will answer that question like this. If there is an African or Afrocentric element to the Olmecs, it is important to know this history because history has been altered so much so, and it's been altered due to discrimination and racism. Identity is very important to any culture, any people. Identity is important. So now if I associate a group of people with great civilizations, then that creates a psychological boost. Instead of just being told that they were slaves, the true American history is the fact that there have been people coming to this land, coming to the Americas, long before Europeans set sail on any ocean. And so you must rewrite the history because they are the ones that led to the establishment of the Americas due to their own bravery and skills and intellect to navigate the currents of the Atlantic Ocean and beyond. So the relationship is this. Knowledge is the freeing of the soul. Juneteenth was the freeing of souls. You can only tie that relationship together. We want to be free mentally and spiritually as well as physically. Being a Moorish American and my relation to all the things that you just stated, We're taught that there's a divine origin of all people. We are taught that every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Essentially, we're taught that we're not separate from the rest of societies that inhabit this place we call Earth. That we are a direct descendant of all these people. We have all the people of the world running through our veins. And that is reciprocal. I am you, you are me. But we've allowed ourselves to divide ourselves based on cultural and physical identities. But if you strip things back, we all search for the same thing. We're searching for happiness. We're searching for love. We're searching for our purpose in this life, where we came from. And we're also searching for our inner God. So what we teach and what we know is that we're all related. And we make that the focal point of our history. We are a part of every part of humanity. Thank you for having me here. But first and foremost, let me give praises to Allah. Allah being the author, the governor, the creator of all the worlds, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. Give thanks to Allah for allowing me to be here this afternoon. I would like to extend honors to our illustrious prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who established the beautiful movement of the Moorish Science Team of America in the year 1913 AD, an American-born prophet, who taught us that we were not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, but we were made in the image and after the likeness of Allah Himself. We would like to give thanks to the forerunner of the prophet and honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Marcus Garvey, who said, "Up, up, you mighty race, and accomplish what you will." And in the Moorish Science Symbol of America, we're taught when the will of man and the will of Allah are one, the resurrection is a fact. I would like to extend honors to past leaders of the Moorish Science Symbol of America, starting with the brother Sheik Gregory Bey, brother F. Nelson Bey, brother J. Blakely Bey, brother R. Loveville. I'd like to extend honors to our present moderator and National Grand Sheik R. Jones Bey and to his official staff. I would like to give honors to all the Moorish people, Moorish Americans, here, there, and everywhere. Thank you very much.